Welcome back to the channel, basketball fans. We are currently witnessing an NBA offseason that will undoubtedly go down in the history books as one of the most chaotic, suspenseful, and franchise-altering summers the league has ever seen. The tectonic plates of the NBA are shifting beneath our feet as we speak, and today, we are going to dive deep into two massive, earth-shattering storylines that are dominating every front office, every war room, and every basketball conversation across the globe. Grab your coffee, settle in, and turn your phones on silent, because the landscape of the entire league is hanging in the balance, and the implications of what is about to happen could dictate the next decade of professional basketball. At the absolute center of this summer's madness is a familiar face, the man who has commanded the league's attention for more than 2 decades, the all-time leading scorer, the 4-time champion, the king himself, LeBron James. Yes, even as he approaches his age 42 season, LeBron James remains the ultimate prize, the grandmaster moving the chess pieces, and the single most influential figure in the sport. After officially informing the Los Angeles Lakers that he would not be re-signing to finish his career in purple and gold, LeBron essentially broke the NBA internet. He is a free agent. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. LeBron Raymond James is an unrestricted free agent, and he is actively looking for a new home. But this is not just about signing a contract for a farewell tour. LeBron has made it abundantly clear, privately and through his representation at Clutch Sports, that his choice will not be financially driven. He is not looking for the highest bidder. He is looking for a championship environment, a culture he can uplift, and a roster that can go to war in the playoffs and come out with the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And as the dust has started to settle on the opening weeks of free agency, the field of suitors has narrowed down to an absolute clash of the titans. While teams like the Miami Heat, the Philadelphia 76ers, and even the Minnesota Timberwolves have thrown their hats into the ring, the absolute frontrunners, the two heavyweights battling it out for the King's signature, are none other than the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Golden State Warriors. It is a choice dripping in poetry, irony, and absolute legacy-defining consequences. Does he go back to Northeast Ohio for a third stint, bringing his unprecedented career full circle to where it all began back in 2003? Or does he join forces with his greatest historical rival, teaming up with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green in the Bay Area to form the most spectacular, mind-bending super veteran core we have ever seen? The choice is down to Cavaliers or the Warriors, and the tension behind the scenes is palpable. But while LeBron's decision is commanding the spotlight, there's a massive, dark, and unprecedented storm brewing on the other side of Los Angeles. While the NBA world has been waiting quietly for Kawhi Leonard to make his triumphant return to the Toronto Raptors via a blockbuster trade, the league office has effectively slammed the brakes on the entire operation. It has been quiet on the surface, but make no mistake, Kawhi Leonard has been reprimanded, and the Los Angeles Clippers are under the microscope of a massive, multi-million-dollar NBA investigation that threatens to severely punish the franchise. The trade that was supposed to send Kawhi back to the North is officially on hold. Why? Because the league is investigating allegations of severe salary cap circumvention. We are talking about secret, off-the-books endorsement deals, a green financial tech company called Aspiration, bankruptcy, fraud convictions, and a $28 million no-show contract that allegedly funneled illegal money directly into Kawhi Leonard's pockets during his tenure with the Clippers. The Raptors' ownership group has completely backed away from finalizing the trade until Adam Silver and the league office conclude their investigation, terrified that they might inherit a massive suspension for Kawhi or heavy institutional penalties if the trade goes through too soon. These two storylines are completely hijacking the summer. On one hand, we have the ultimate legacy decision with LeBron James choosing between his storybook hometown and his ultimate rival. On the other hand, we have a legal and financial scandal of epic proportions threatening to derail Kawhi Leonard's career and hit Steve Ballmer's Clippers with historic sanctions. Today, we are going to break down every single angle, every whisper from league executives, and every potential outcome of these massive developments. Let's get right into the deep dive. Let's start with the king. The situation surrounding LeBron James is unlike anything we have ever witnessed in the history of professional sports. We are talking about a player who has logged more minutes, scored more points, and carried more expectations than any human being to ever pick up a basketball. after wrapping up a roller coaster chapter with the Los Angeles Lakers, a chapter that brought a championship, but also years of roster turbulence, intense scrutiny, and early playoff exits. LeBron made the calculated decision to walk away. At 41 years old, going into his 24th NBA season, most players will be sitting on a beach or talking on a broadcast network. Not LeBron. He is still performing at an elite level, and his free agency is holding the entire league hostage. Rich Paul, LeBron's longtime agent and confidant, has made it known that they have gathered all the necessary information. The pitches have been made. The general managers, team presidents, and billionaire owners have all flown in, presented their slide decks, and made their desperate pleas. Now, the ball is entirely in LeBron's court. According to top NBA insiders, the financial aspect of this next contract is completely secondary. LeBron is a billionaire. He does not need another max contract to secure his family's future. What he craves, what he absolutely needs at this twilight stage of his career, is a culture of winning, a cohesive locker room, and a legitimate, undeniable path to a fifth NBA championship. Let us break down the Cleveland Cavaliers scenario first, because the emotional and narrative weight of this option is staggering. Cleveland is a franchise that drafted him first overall back in 2003 as a high school phenom from Akron. It is a franchise he famously left in 2010, only to return in 2014 to deliver on his promise of a championship in 2016, arguably the greatest NBA Finals comeback of all time. For years, the idea of LeBron returning for a third stint in Northeast Ohio seemed like a fairy tale, a fan fiction dream. But now, it is a very real, very potent possibility. Rival executives around the league heavily view the Cavaliers as the frontrunner. The Cavaliers have spent this entire offseason putting their secondary plans on ice, keeping their cap sheet flexible, and waiting patiently by the phone. But it is not just about nostalgia. It is about basketball fit. Cleveland offers LeBron a dynamic roster that has already cut its teeth in the postseason. You pair LeBron James with an elite scorer like Donovan Mitchell, and suddenly the offensive firepower is terrifying. You add Darius Garland as a secondary playmaker to take the ball-handling pressure off LeBron during the grueling regular season. Then you look at the front court with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, providing the elite rim protection and defensive versatility that LeBron desperately needs behind him at this stage of his career. He would not have to carry the offense for 40 minutes a night. He could operate as the ultimate offensive maestro, picking his spots while surrounded by hungry talent. It would be the ultimate storybook ending to the greatest career in basketball history. But you can never, ever count out the Golden State Warriors. And this is where the story takes a fascinating twist. For years, LeBron James and the Golden State Warriors defined a rivalry that shaped a generation. For consecutive NBA Finals matchups, bitter battles, heartbreak, and triumph. But over time, that bitter rivalry has evolved into a deep mutual respect, especially between LeBron, Stephen Curry, and Draymond Green. Remember the summer of 2024, when LeBron, Steph, and Kevin Durant teamed up on the USA men's national team to win Olympic gold in Paris? We all saw the undeniable chemistry, the pure basketball joy that Steph and LeBron shared when they finally got to be on the same side of the floor. That seed was planted, and now it is blossoming into a full-blown recruitment campaign. Draymond Green has been absolutely relentless. Just a few weeks ago, Green spent time with LeBron in Puerto Rico, making what he himself described as a crazy recruiting pitch directly to the king. But it is not just Draymond. Stephen Curry has bypassed the front office channels and has been communicating directly with LeBron. Curry has publicly and privately expressed his desperate desire to share an NBA court with James before they both hang up their sneakers. The Warriors believe that this direct, player-to-player access gives them a massive advantage over Cavaliers. It is not just about a front office live presentation. It is about Steph Curry looking LeBron James in the eye and saying, "Let us go win one more together." Furthermore, Warriors owner Joe Lacob and general manager Mike Dunleavy Jr. have been incredibly aggressive in their negotiations with Rich Paul. They are pitching a vision where LeBron, Steph, and Draymond, under the guidance of Steve Kerr, can form a veteran tribe with enough basketball IQ to outsmart any young, athletic team in the league. Imagine the gravity of Stephen Curry running off screens, Draymond Green operating the short role, and LeBron James conducting the entire symphony. It would be virtually unguardable. The choice is agonizing. Does he choose a romantic homecoming in Cleveland? Or does he choose to break the internet and join forces with his greatest rival in the Bay Area? But while the world watches LeBron, we must turn our undivided attention to the shocking, scandalous situation unfolding with Kawhi Leonard, the Los Angeles Clippers, and the Toronto Raptors. If you remember, earlier this summer, it was announced that Kawhi Leonard was finally going back to Toronto. The prodigal son, the man who delivered the Raptors their only NBA championship in 2019, was returning. The proposed trade was a massive blockbuster, sending Brandon Ingram, Grady Dick, 2 unprotected first-round picks, a pick swap, and multiple second-round picks back to Los Angeles. The basketball world was stunned and thrilled. The Raptors were ready to welcome back their hero, and the Clippers were ready to completely retool their roster with a haul of draft capital. But just 9 days after the initial reports, everything came to a screeching, humiliating halt. The trade is officially on ice. It is completely paralyzed. And the reason why is sending shockwaves through the league's legal and financial departments. The NBA League office has launched a massive, deep-dive investigation into the Los Angeles Clippers organization, specifically targeting the contract Kawhi Leonard signed back in 2024. Last September, allegations surfaced that the Clippers, under the ownership of Steve Ballmer, engaged in blatant, severe salary cap circumvention. The allegations state that the team utilized a now-defunct green financial technology company called Aspiration, a company that was an official sponsor of the Clippers, to funnel illegal, off-the-books money to Kawhi Leonard. We are talking about a reported $28 million no-show endorsement contract, a contract where Kawhi allegedly did absolutely no actual promotional work, but simply received the money as a backdoor bonus to circumvent the NBA's strict collective bargaining agreement. This is not just a minor infraction. This is a cardinal sin of NBA team building, and the details are incredibly messy. Aspiration, the company at the center of this, later entered bankruptcy. Its co-founder, Joe Sandberg, was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 14 years in prison, while the Clippers organization has released statements aggressively professing their innocence, claiming they were victims of Sandberg's fraud just like everyone else. The NBA is not taking this lightly. Commissioner Adam Silver hired a prestigious law firm to rip through the Clippers' books. The team claims they have provided tens of thousands of documents and facilitated dozens of interviews over the past 10 months, desperately trying to clear their name. But why is Kawhi being reprimanded? Why is the trade stopped? The Raptors' ownership group rightfully panicked. The NBA informed Toronto that if they finalized the trade while the investigation was ongoing, Toronto would assume the risk of any penalties levied against Kawhi Leonard. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine the Raptors trade away their young talent and all those future draft picks, only for Adam Silver to drop the hammer and suspend Kawhi Leonard for an entire season. The Raptors would be left holding the bag, completely decimated, with absolutely no recourse. Legal experts, including top sport attorneys, have expressed absolute shock that the Clippers even try to execute this trade while under the dark cloud of this active investigation. We have to look at sports history to understand the gravity of this situation. Back in the year 2000, the Minnesota Timberwolves were caught doing something similar with player Joe Smith. They made a secret, illegal agreement to pay him under the table to circumvent the cap. When former Commissioner David Stern found out, the punishment was absolute devastation. He fined the team $3.5 million, voided Joe Smith's contracts, suspended the team owner, and stripped the Timberwolves of 5 future first-round draft picks. It destroyed the franchise for a decade. We saw similar actions in the NHL when the New Jersey Devils were heavily fined and stripped of high draft picks for trying to circumvent the cap with Ilya Kovalchuk. While the buzz around the league suggests that Commissioner Adam Silver will come down incredibly hard on Steve Ballmer and the Clippers organization, perhaps with record-breaking fines and massive draft pick forfeitures, the impact on Kawhi Leonard is profound. Kawhi has not been legally charged with any wrongdoing in the fraud case, but in the eyes of the NBA, participating in a cap circumvention scheme is a massive violation. He is quietly being reprimanded by having his entire future put in purgatory. He cannot go to Toronto. He is stuck on a Clippers roster that is trying to rebuild, waiting for the hammer of justice to fall. For the Clippers, they are paralyzed, bleeding public relations goodwill, and bracing for what could be the harshest penalty handed down to a franchise in modern NBA history. And Kawhi Leonard, a player who has always operated in the shadows, who has always kept his circle tight and his words brief, is now trapped in the brightest, most uncomfortable spotlight imaginable. As we step back and look at the sheer magnitude of these two unfolding sagas, it becomes blindingly apparent that the entire future of the NBA is teetering on a knife's edge. Think about the ripple effects of LeBron James' impending decision. If he chooses the Cleveland Cavaliers, he instantly transforms the landscape of the Eastern Conference. The Boston Celtics, the New York Knicks, the Milwaukee Bucks, they will all suddenly have to contend with Cavaliers' team that not only boasts one of the most talented young backcourts in the league, but also the ultimate playoff orchestrator in LeBron James. It would shift the media spotlight, the primetime television schedules, and the championship odds directly to the Midwest, creating an absolute juggernaut in the East. On the flip side, if LeBron succumbs to the relentless recruitment of Stephen Curry and Draymond Green and signs with the Golden State Warriors, the Western Conference becomes an absolute bloodbath. A trio of LeBron, Steph, and Draymond, even in their advanced years, possesses an intimidating amalgamation of championship pedigree, unmatched basketball intellect, and sheer star power. It would be a box office spectacle the likes of which we have never seen, a final, glorious ride for the defining players of our generation. Every single night, arenas would be sold out, and opposing coaches would be spending sleepless nights trying to figure out how to defend the greatest shooter of all time paired with the greatest all-around player in history. The league is holding its collective breath, waiting to see which domino falls first. Simultaneously, the dark cloud hovering over Kawhi Leonard and the Los Angeles Clippers serves as a grim reminder of the high-stakes, cutthroat business side of professional basketball. The NBA has spent decades meticulously crafting a collective bargaining agreement designed to promote parity and prevent big-market, deep-pocketed owners like Steve Ballmer from simply buying championships through backdoor channels. If these allegations regarding the aspiration no-show contracts are proven true, Commissioner Adam Silver has no choice but to make a terrifying example out of Clippers. The integrity of the league's financial structure is at stake. For Kawhi Leonard, this is an incredibly tragic and frustrating pause in a career that has already been plagued by debilitating injuries and load management controversies. To finally have a pathway back to Toronto, the city where he achieved immortal status in 2019, only to have the door slammed shut by a league investigation into front office misconduct, is a bitter pill to swallow. The Raptors were incredibly smart to protect themselves and halt the trade, but it leaves Kawhi in absolute limbo, trapped on a roster that is desperate to pivot toward the future. It is a cautionary tale about the perils of corporate sponsorships, billionaire owners trying to bend the rules, and the unintended, disastrous consequences that fall upon the players caught in crossfire. These two defining stories, one a triumphant final chapter of an unparalleled legacy, the other a murky, scandalous legal quagmire, perfectly encapsulate the sheer drama and unpredictability of the National Basketball Association. The NBA is not just a sports league. It is a year-round soap opera, a multi-billion-dollar corporate battleground, and the greatest reality show on television. You simply cannot write scripts better than the reality playing out before our very eyes. Now, I want to hear from you, the fans, the heartbeat of this channel. Let us take this conversation down to the comments section, where you honestly believe LeBron James will end up when the dust finally settles. Does his heart pull him back to Cleveland for a fairy tale ending to his legendary career? Or does his competitive fire and the allure of playing with Stephen Curry push him toward the Golden State Warriors? Which team actually gives him the best realistic shot at capturing that elusive fifth championship ring before he retires? And furthermore, what are your thoughts on the Kawhi Leonard scandal? Do you think the NBA should drop the absolute hammer on the Los Angeles Clippers if they are found guilty of salary cap circumvention, similar to what David Stern did to the Minnesota Timberwolves 2 decades ago? Should Kawhi Leonard face a personal suspension for his alleged involvement in the $28 million endorsement scheme, or is he simply a victim of a front office trying to bend the rules? Drop your hottest takes, your deepest analysis, and your boldest predictions in the comments down below. I will be down there reading through your thoughts and responding to the best arguments. If you enjoyed this deep dive and want to stay completely up to date with the most accurate, thorough and hard-hitting NBA analysis on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like button, smash the subscribe button, and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. The NBA offseason is far from over, and the second either of these massive stories officially breaks, you can guarantee we will be right back here breaking all down for you. Until next time, keep watching the waiver wires, keep an eye on the news feeds, and as always, thank you so much for tuning in. I will catch you in the next one.